Alright guys, we are back for another Dokkan Battle video. So, we had the Toppo Celebration info. We have the Toppo Celebration on right now. But they did not, in the Celebration info, tell us who the EZA was going to be. Now, sometimes they tell us, sometimes they don't. Doesn't really seem to be very consistent on if, like, the news has, like, you know, info on what the next EZA characters are going to be. Now, Toppo is a very, 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 very good character. He's incredibly strong. I think that the community, you guys have heard me talk a lot about how the community gets kind of like, I don't know what the word I want to use, seduced by potential, right? Like people always act like, oh, what the character's potential can be rather than what they do. I think that's applicable to Toppo as well. But it's the community goes, oh, well, Toppo could get killed, even though he doesn't, right? But Toppo definitely still needs help. This is not a Saiyan character. Like, if we look at it, like, Vegeta needed no help. But, I mean, he did get King Vegeta. King Vegeta is actually really good. King Vegeta grew on me quite a bit. You know, like, Beast Gohan did not need any help. He got the Krillin and Android 18, who's an okay character. Broly definitely needed help. And they gave him Golden Frieza, who is a great Super Boss's asset, so that was good. And then Broly, Chila, and Lemo. Sometimes a character will come out and Dokkan will actually give them help. And then other times a character will come out like Super... We're just talking about their celebration for right now, right? Because Super Trunks eventually did get Android's Cell Saga help. But Super Trunks comes out and they suck. He sucks. He sucks. This guy was okay-ish. I mean, he was really good in that Cell Red Zone fight, which came out a couple weeks later. This guy sucks. It's like Super Trunks came out, they gave him no help, and he was one of the most frustrating releases ever that I've ever used easily. So it's like, I always want these Dokkan Fests to get help. Frieza did not get nearly enough help. It's like, oh, Frieza needs Terrifying Conqueror characters, so let's drop freaking Bardock as the EZA character. I hate that. The Dokkan Fest exclusive characters should be completely sucked off. Given strong EZA help, a good banner unit, like they should really mold the celebration around making sure that that team is really good. Toppo's is, but if there's one thing Toppo could use is this right here. Toppo's not really filled with like annoying ass restrictions or anything like that, but getting his intro on one of his other teams can be tough, right? Like when I've been using Toppo, there's not a ton of Toppos on the friends list. Of course, Toppo's not that popular character. Plus, we're kind of in like, you remember, there's like peaks and valleys is what I think Dokkan should do. We get the super good hype Super Saiyan Vegeta for Saiyan Day, which is kind of a bigger celebration. And then now they pick Toppo as kind of like the next Dokkan Fest. I think it's a good pick, but not very hype. So there's not a ton of Toppos on the friends list. And it's like, if I try and use Toppo on like super bosses, right? I will encounter issues with this. Gonna need characters of this to be a little bit better. Not really for his own team, but for other teams. Toppo can certainly still be very good. Like, I had Toppo just tank Cell Max even without his intro up. By the way, the guard is not the point of the intro, though. It's this. The extra damage reduction is really big for base Toppo. So what we're looking for, what we really want from upcoming EZA characters, by the way, is either of these. These are our best case scenario. And then Catapesla, you know, after using him quite a bit, I've determined that I hate him. I think he's pretty awful. Well, it's... I mean, I don't want to say, like, awful as in, like, he's awful in how they made him. This interesting, unique design sucks cock. It just means that the character is unusable on a banner unit. I feel like they could get away with something like this a little bit more on a Dokkan Fest, but I don't know. I mean, this guy doesn't support... He at least does share, what is that, 5 links with base Toppo, which is good, but he's got, like, barely defensive mechanics. He has no support. Support is what these banner units should do. Dokkan was on a good string of that, right? King Vegeta, Golden Frieza, Krillin and 18, Dodoria, like they all supported. And then we get to Toppo and they're like, yeah, Catapesla, let's just clown around with him. So let's jump into what I think the EZAs could be and should be and blah, 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 blah. We'll go, okay, so this is the main EZA of the celebration. I'm going to go in order of how good they would be for Toppo. I think we're going to get one of these three, and then we'll talk about likely options for Super EZA as well. I'm going to imagine every celebration would have a main EZA and a Super EZA. So now, if that's the case, Super EZA becomes really good, because now it's just an extra character we get every celebration. So that's awesome. So Jiren, I would have kind of high expectations for him. I do feel like the community, a lot of times with Dokkan Fest EZA TURs, their expectations are way out of whack compared to what we usually get with just EZA Dokkan Fest TURs. It is pretty uncommon where they're just like, whoa, like really crazy. But the LRs recently have not been the same thing. I mean, let's just go back. Maybe it's a little bit unfair since they were kind of like anniversary stuff. But STRUI Sign Goku and Broly Chian Lemo, they're very, very close. You know, I could probably go back and forth on which one I like more. But they're both, you know, borderline top 10, top 15 characters in the game. Very, very powerful. I mean, and Jiren is an LR from the same year, the same time frame, right? Like, they came out in February of 2020, and this guy, we'll use his JP release. This guy came out in June of 2020. So, and then Jiren is July of 2020. So, if Jiren gets an EZA on their level, like, he becomes a major asset for TOPPO'S team, and he's a huge buff for super bosses. Jiren makes the most sense because it does seem like 2024 is probably going to be the year of super bosses. You know, because they introduced the category during the anniversary. They give us Dokkan Fest LR Broly, who's very good. We got the Golden Frieza Ban Unit. Remember, Global got the Global First Goku Black, who's a major Super Bosses character. We got the EZA Kefla. And then, remember, Toppo. Toppo is Super Bosses as well. So, Jiren would make a ton of sense there to buff Super Bosses. In 2023, if you guys remember, Power of Wishes was not that great when it first came out. But then, you know, throughout the year, every character that came out seemingly ended up on Power of Wishes. I think we're kind of going to get a similar thing where they're going to do a lot of Super Bosses characters this year. So I would love to see Jiren be good. Now, what does he need to be good? He doesn't need, like, I mean, just as long as he's like, damn, I don't know if I could come up with a good comparison, but just like a strong, sturdy character. Like, I don't know. Jiren, when he first came out, I loved him because he was just unbelievably dominant. Incredibly powerful. But, like, you know, people said, oh, he's boring and stuff like that. Like, I don't care. Boring is good. You know what I care about? I care about if the character kicks ass. If the character's good. If the character's a beast. Make him as boring as dirt, but make him a beast, and I love it. You know, guard plus 50% damage reduction, and we're cooking. We're cooking, right? Like, they could make Jiren nuts. But, like, a Jiren plus God Toppo rotation could be very interesting. Now, what are the chances that they give us an EZA that buffs Toppo, and then, like, the Part 2 LR also is, like, a Pride Troopers unit or something like that? I'd say a very small chance. You know Dokkan is dying to, rather than drop Jiren, who, you know, fits super bosses and tournament participants and links up well with Toppo and just works super good, what they actually want to do is they want to drop something like Gotenks. Now, to be fair, look at Gotenks' category teams. This is, to me, definitely an exciting character to get an EZA, right? When I see buffs for rapid growth, savior, special pose, youth, fusion, mastered evolution, dude, look at this. Gotenks being like the best EZA TUR, like if he's like twice as good as Kefla, that's very good for the game because of all the different category missions he could potentially help out in, right? Which they, you know, they really love doing that now. These category missions and all these tough fights we see constantly. But remember the big thing I pointed out with Toppo that we're looking for is really, this is the one thing I kind of want, would be to help Toppo not on his own team, but potentially on other teams. For example, if we would run Broly's team, which Toppo could be an option on there. Remember, Broly leads Transformation Boost. Bam. So it's like this would just get us another option to get Toppo's intro on potentially like Broly's team. Now, I don't know in terms of like what type of kit to give this guy to make him super good. I'm not sure because, I mean, if you look at these characters, like look at Gotenks' passive. This is his passive in base. He needs like an essay. Like they got to write up an essay. And I'm sure they will. I think that we could see this guy EZA. Now, people did point out that name like a dual Dokkan Fest character that didn't EZA with their counterpart, right? So remember, this Gotenks is a dual Dokkan Fest with the transforming Buu. That's another character I'm dying to see EZA. They would be a great villain buff. Oh my god, that exchange Majin Buu, they'll be hopefully awesome. And I think, like, you know, once people pointed that out, like, I can't think of a Dokkan Fest, like a dual Dokkan Fest, that didn't EZA together. But it's also one of these things where we say that, like, they've never done this, and then they just do it, right? Like, so, I could still see in Gotenks EZA right here, even though they've never done it before. I would say it's on the table. Now, I also want to point out this right here. They dropped the special pose Dokkan Fest category banner in Gotenks and Tech Super Saiyan 3. I would say there's a very good chance that's your EZA Dokkan Fest and that's your Super EZA the celebration, right? Because, you know, they just have the banner, boom, right there. I could easily see that being the case. I don't like what they did with AGL Dragon Fist. I like that they made him available with red coins, but I feel like they should place him on a banner as well. I just adding him to the red coin shop, I don't like. So if they're going to EZA this Tech Gotenks Super EZA, I think, you know, having this banner here is good. The other option we could see is Frieza. Now, I'm not really dying for Frieza to get this EZA right here. Frieza's definitely the worst option. Frieza does not buff Toppo. I don't know that Frieza would even make the team. It would be fight dependent. They could make Frieza absolutely ridiculous. The one thing that's good about this Frieza is he already has so much. For a 2020, this guy was so... Oh my god. This guy was... You want to talk about busted when he first came out. This guy was a stunning kit because he already stacks, he seals, right? He has dodge, he has attack debuffing. Remember, you could transform literally. His condition is whenever you want, and then you transform, and then he has stunning, and he also has damage reduction. So he literally already does everything except for guard. Guard is like the only, or like support or orb changing. But this guy has all this stuff. So, I mean, it's very easy for them to make him very good. I mean, I don't want to go too crazy because how many times have we seen Dokkan completely just, you know, oh, they can't fumble this character, and then they just fumble them, right? Like, we've seen it a million times. But this guy's very intriguing because, whereas, like, Jiren, they have to give him a nasty kit because he's an LR. But for these two, remember, they're going to get the huge stats increases. What is he at? Oh, my God, yeah. Whew! Whew! Yeah, Frieza's stats are crazy. Gotenks have to be very good as well. Yeah, oh, my God, he has very high defense. Whoa. That's pre-EZA defense? Holy shit. Yeah, their stats are going to be crazy. So let me know what you guys think. I really hope it's Gotenks or Jiren because that, again, buffs up the only sort of like condition that Toppo has, which is the part of his intro. It's not that bad because it's only 2 allies right there. It's kind of like Frieza. Like, the thing that makes me mad about Frieza, it's not his intro, it's the terrifying conqueror buff in there, right? Because what is his intro? It's basically the same thing as Toppo. If he has 2 other space traveling warrior allies, right? Where Toppo is just 2 other either special pose or defender of justice. But what Frieza has that I hate is this. This is what kills this character. It sucks. It makes me mad. All right, so there we go. So there's those 3 again. I think these are one of these 3 we're gonna see. Now then we can move on to Super EZA. I would hope that they Super EZA Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks right here. To me, this is our best pick, our best option. Let's hope that this is what they do, because again, this would directly buff Toppo. Now, this is also I mean, impossible to predict what they're gonna do. If they just give him a AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku level buff, like look at this. Let's look how he jumps up, right? So this is his EZA passive right here, and then here's his Super EZA passive. They give the same thing to Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, and that would be really good. Again, Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, Heavenly Events, Special Pose, Rapid Growth, Savior, right? These are the types of characters that if they make them like busted, really can help so many category teams. So I'd love it. I'd love it. I mean, I could see them easying Gotenks, super easying this Gotenks, and dropping like an LR Gotenks. I would also be totally okay with that because, again, he's both Special Pose and Defender of Justice, right? Wait. No, Gotenks is not Defender of Justice. He's just Special Pose. Okay. But that's still the Special Pose, right? So that would help Toppo a lot. Special Pose is also what Toppo's leader skill is, right? So Gotenks would fall in it. Because, like, I feel like Dokkan... So remember, last year, they dropped Dokkan Fest Kale. Then the EZA was LR Kale and Caulifla, which was a good pick, although they made them one of the worst EZAs we've seen in quite some time. And then for part 2, they dropped Super Boo. But remember, Kale led Transformation Boost. So you know that Amatsu is sitting there like, guys, you wanted a buff for Kale? I mean, Super Boost Transformation Boost, he's on her team. Like, you know Amatsu is sitting there like saying or thinking that. Dude, you know it. You know it. So let's hope that we see this guy. We know that his super attack effects are not going to change, and he is unfortunately going to remain a 6-link character as well. But, I mean, this guy, like, I don't really use this guy thinking, oh my god, why doesn't he have a super attack effect? Like, they gave him a lot in here to where it doesn't really feel like that big of an issue. So, I just, if this guy just gets a super EZA on par with that HL Super Saiyan 3 Goku, this guy will be a great option. Now, the other thing we could see, remember, Goresh translated it as they're going to release them sequentially, which potentially could mean that they're just going to go in order. That would be very boring if they just actually directly went in, like, order. If they did, this is who we would be seeing, is this Broly right here. Which I hope not, because look at this. Like, who... I mean, sure, we do have Broly has got full power, so I mean, I guess this would be a Broly buff. I guess. I mean, I'll take it, supporting Broly. Still, I'll take Broly is still an obvious, easy top 10 unit in the game. Very, very powerful. I mean, if we're gonna make Broly's life a little bit easier, I'm definitely not against that. I guess he's also on movie bosses. There is a couple, like, there's the tough movie bosses mission in the movie Boss Rush Red Zone. So, I mean, this could certainly help some people. Although, he is STR, and the end is against that EGL Broly, so maybe that wouldn't be the greatest. Another 6-link character, by the way. But, I mean, this guy would do very little for us right now. I do not want to see this guy super EZA. I don't think this is the right time for it. So, I hope we get either Jiren or Int Gotenks. I'm fine with either. And then I hope Tech Gotenks is the super EZA. If we get, like, those two things, you know, we definitely could be cooking for this Toppo celebration. Regardless, even if the character is good, if they're not a Saiyan, the character is going to need help. Like, the Saiyans can always, like, if they drop a Goku, unless they put, like, insane restrictions on him, like, a Goku is not gonna need, like help or something like that. Trunks probably wouldn't have either, but they decided, Air Droid's a Soul Saga restriction, right? So, like, Toppo doesn't really have crazy restrictions, but, you know, non-Saiyans, man, could always use more help.